Margaret Kuhlman of Soul Astrology. So an Aries new moon, bursting with life, not far from Venus. So perhaps the more friendly aspects of Aries will show up. As I understand it, Aries never means to be a problem, but the energy is so tuned to self-discovery, which we do through our engagement with the world, that it tends not to have time to pussyfoot around being diplomatic with people, not meaning harm. Those who have a Scorpio strength may feel that the Aries sudden approach is an attack, and that the anger that shows, on occasion, the impatience, is just the tip of the iceberg. But in fact, the anger expressed disappears, and a kind of innocence is left to keep going forward in discovery. So with this month having Sun, Moon and Venus in Aries, we're all likely to be going ahead like that, all coming out with our truth in our loving relationships, with them all squaring Pluto in Capricorn, particularly the Venus in exact square. We might well find that we've been misunderstood. Pluto is sextiling the Neptune, which should bring about a deep, natural, empathic understanding. But because Neptune is squaring Mars, and Mars is in cahoots with the Aries group, we just might possibly deliver our truths so quickly and dash about so verbally that the more pragmatic and sensitive side of ourselves could feel quite confused, lost, and worrying about that. Because whatever Pluto contacts, we tend to feel the importance of that area. So we're likely to feel the importance of relationships. Perhaps people we've not seen for so long are pouring out of all our thoughts and love and connectedness, and it's all a bit much. And Mercury is in there too, of course, and Chiron. Our vulnerability on that level. Do they still like me? Do they remember me after all this time? And of course, in a prolonged absence between people we're close to, we often slip back into how it was before. So coming together again, it's like having to relearn the people you know. There's clearly a lot of room for compassion, gentleness, stepping back and coming forward again to have another go, patience. The very thing that Aries doesn't have a lot of. However, Saturn's connecting with Mercury from Aquarius, so maybe we will hold our words back, not act too precipitately, because of bearing in mind the wholeness of a situation. As we approach the full moon, that energy of Mars has shifted into Cancer, so much more emotional. Towards late April then, more family connections, more caring, more sense of wanting to be in the family cuddle. There will have been lots of connections, with Jupiter being trined by Mars as it goes by. But the full moon chart itself has the moon in Scorpio, opposite Sun in Taurus. So after the initial verbal exchanges and the movement here, there and everywhere to reconnect, it's as though we settle to getting a bit deeper with each other and finding out how people really have been. and maybe revealing the real, deeper reactions to the way life has been over these last months. It's important not to allow oneself to feel disloyal or rebellious. The feelings that arise are natural. Because one feels differently from a regulation doesn't make one a rebel. All of our responses and deeper reactions to the difficulty and the strangeness of circumstances, they're revealing us to ourselves, so we find out what really does matter. And the important thing in relationship is to be able to separate those reactions that we have from how we are actually dealing with the people we meet in the present. All our inner landscape belongs to us, and we are responsible for it and how it is. And each person has their own, very different. If we are to connect at all, it needs to be kindly and tolerant of many different viewpoints. I'm looking at that squared Saturn connecting to Chiron, very aware of people's vulnerability, but still holding a measure of control. And if we go to Taurus, the other end of this squared position from the moon, there is the Sun and Venus Mercury either side of Uranus. So all these personal planets drawing our attention to the freedom end, the desire for freedom, the enjoyment of freedom, the sharing of freedom. It's all in Taurus. The freedom to move about, to move one's body, to breathe. Facing across the chart these deeper emotional reactions. And the circumstances still not quite allowing for relaxation. With Mercury on the Venus and in Taurus, it is the relating that we're going to be communicating about. But that includes our relationship with all things, not just people. The animals, the plants, nature, the whole planet. A love of the planet. A love of the body and its connection to the planet. For those of you into astrology, as I have done in the letter, I want to just draw attention to what I noticed the other day in a talk I listened to about Aries, a very, very distant dwarf planet, moving very, very slowly, having been in Aries for all our lifetimes and still there. And how at this new moon, 22 degrees Aries, Aries is at 24 degrees Aries, so you could say the new moon has to do with whatever principle that is. And just the other side of the new moon at 19 degrees Aries, we have Ceres, one of the asteroids, very close, very fast moving. So these two feminine principles are holding that potentially masculine new moon at either side of it, with all the things that they have to do with Ceres being about the cereal, the corn, the earth mother, nurturing. The symbol of Ceres is a sickle for harvesting. So very much about supporting us and going through Aries quite quickly. It's how we take care of ourselves and how we need to appreciate the earth takes care of us. Whereas Aries, who is leading this new moon forward, is more distant and doesn't feel part of the solar system. So linking in a way from that distance by throwing in the odd idea. And in order to get a response perhaps, the idea is surprising, not one you want to hear, so provokes energy, and possibly energy on different sides, as it were, people claiming sides, occupying their beliefs as though it was a platform. So potentially there could be disagreement and awkwardness. By the time you get to the full moon, just before the full moon, Ceres moves over the point where Aries is, and the two principles come together. And they're so different from each other, it made me wonder about the second half of this month, that maybe there are circumstances that call for nurturing, where the virtue of Aries shows up, which is the revealing of people's true nature, not the face they put on. So we might be in for some surprises. And again, we need to notice our reactions and subtract the personal stuff from what we're looking at in order to get a bit nearer the truth. And aside from all that, this month is so packed with potential, growth, fun, energetic movement, lovely communication. And as Jupiter trines the Mars, growth of all sorts of things is assured. We just need to bear in mind that we're still not quite sure where we're going. The stream of possible futures meanders invitingly. Who knows what's around the corner? We hear water running over and around. Is this the moment to launch the boat? Reach in, and we are swept away. These are exciting times, though fear would put it differently. Above all, be present, awake, and responsive. There is no time to wonder if, or contemplate if only. Past and future have no place here, only the spray in our face, and balance and steer. Bring with you only your heart, and trust that all is as it needs to be.